I'm speaking today with Sean Madson, who is not only a voice actor, but also a father. We're discussing work-life balance, developing your natural voice, voicing in AAA video games, and presenting yourself professionally. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Who are you? Tell me about yourself, and how did you get involved in voice acting?
My name is Sean Madson, and as you stated, I am a voice actor. Done video games, I've done animations, audio dramas, commercials. I've done a little bit of on camera stuff, like as extras. I've tried to dip myself into a little bit of everything just to kind of try it all out and see what I like best. And as far as how I got involved in voice acting, the short version I give people is, oh, well, it was COVID, and I was doing one of my many anime binges, and I happened to watch the behind the scenes of how the dubbing is done on some of these, and I thought, you know what, that looks really fun. I should do that. So I went all in basically from the get go. I already had a microphone from, I used to do a podcast back in the day. I took some acting classes so I can have, just some basic building blocks to kind of build off of. And then I started auditioning and realized I really liked it. And then I just kind of kept going with it. And I'm now about 5 years into it. I say that's the short version because, I mean, really, there's always a lot of choices that people make during their life that kind of lead them down a certain path. Like if I actually look back and examine milestones in my life, I can look at, oh, well, in college, I used to make Halo videos where I would dub over the voices in Halo. And I thought that was really fun. So naturally, that would lead me here. Or I took a course in college where I was putting together videos and putting together radio commercials, and I got to do the voiceovers for that stuff. And so there's little tiny things that happened throughout life that kind of led me down this path. And I think it just kind of took a catalyst of, you know what, I've got the time, I've got the drive, let's give it a shot and see what comes of it. That was the spark that led me to where I am right now.
Tell me a little bit more about the acting classes that you've taken.
A lot of people, when they go into voice acting, they look into voiceover specific workshops or classes. I took a different approach because, I read a lot about this before diving in. And the main thing that I got from my research was voice acting is acting. It's not about the voices you do, which is really key because, I feel like a lot of people, myself included, don't think that this is something that they can do because, oh, well, I'm not a voice guy. I don't do impressions. And so therefore, how could I do cartoons or video games and things like that? And the reality is a lot of the stuff that I book is with just my normal talking voice. And it's about how you act with that voice. I can talk to you like this, and I can sound crazy, I can sound angry, I can, sound all these different things. It's just about how do you employ the instrument that you have. I decided to do acting first and build that framework of, how does a person act? Like what is that mindset like, right? What kinds of things do I have to think about while I'm getting into character? I had an acting coach that was local, but of course, since it was COVID, we still did it over Zoom, and she helped me through kind of discovering how to play a character, cold reads, things like that. And then from there, it just kind of evolved into voiceover specific things. And then I eventually started taking voiceover specific workshops, classes, coaching in order to kind of refine the acting skills that I had already built up to this point. So it was really just laying the foundation and then learning kind of the nuances on top of that and then just building from there.
Using your natural voice, what kind of characters do you most often audition for? What kind of roles do you feel like you kind of fit into most naturally?
I do a lot of just dads. I am a dad. It's easy to play a dad when you are a dad. So that's a big one for me. Just kind of the aloof, bored, tired, disgruntled worker. Do a lot of that type of stuff. Best friend type roles, things of that nature. As far as like my typecast, I get cast a lot in extremely nerdy, I would call them punchable characters. Just things where you hear me say something and you're like, God, that guy needs to get decked in the face, like that type. That's kind of become my typecast. I don't really know how or why I kind of fell into that, but that's just been kind of my go-to. And also, just kind of your typical heroic, aloof adventurer, occasional one-liners here and there. People are surprised at how much mileage you could get out of just your normal talking voice. It's just, how you play the character and, what type of acting choices you make is really what defines it.
How do you balance being a parent and doing voice acting?
It's a lot of spinning plates. The one thing I will say that's nice about voice acting, especially when it comes to the auditioning process, is a lot of auditions realistically don't take that long to do. It really just depends on how much of a perfectionist you are when you're doing them. But in reality, you can jump in the booth, knock out an audition or two, and then jump out and then go about your day. So it's really just finding those little moments in time where, okay, I've got time to knock this out, or, there's an audition in my email box. Can I just do it real quick and then get back to, what I was doing before? So, and especially since it's remote, the flexibility of voice acting is I can jump in my booth at home, record my audition, send it off, get out of my booth, and then go do something else. Obviously, when you book a role and then you're setting aside blocks of time to actually do live direction or do recording, then there's a little bit more of a schedule to it. You got to think, when am I actually available to do this? And it doesn't conflict with some of my other obligations. For the most part, it's a flexible enough art form that you can just kind of weave in and out as needed, and you find ways to make it work.
So you have a setup at home. Tell me a little bit about that booth.
Yes, it has evolved over time. When I first started with my old podcast mic, Snowball, I think it was called, it didn't sound very good. I just had it, sitting on my desk, and I would just record. And I didn't have any kind of soundproofing or anything because I was still learning the craft. I was still learning what sounds good and what doesn't. It's all things that you just kind of figure out as you go. So I started out, I didn't really have any kind of environment for recording. It sounded kind of awful, but if your acting is good enough, that'll carry you through in some cases. And then you eventually reach a point where you're like, okay, I need something a little bit better than what I'm doing here. So what I eventually did is I upgraded my microphone. I got an interface. So I had an actual XLR setup instead of the USB mic that I had. I moved into a walk-in closet because you have clothes, you have soft stuff everywhere, and then I would just pack it with blankets and pillows to cover all the hard surfaces. And I spent a few months in there, and it sounded way better, but it still wasn't quite there. Like there was still, a little bit, because I didn't have everything covered. Like I didn't have the ceiling covered. It was just the bare walls, and, I had carpet. So it was better, but it wasn't quite perfect. And then I eventually put together the setup that I have now, which is a PVC pipe frame and then sound blankets draped over the sides and the top. And then, of course, I've got my laptop, my microphone, my interface inside. And this has been my setup for most of that 5 years. It's no studio bricks or anything like that, but even with this, I've booked video games, I booked animations, including AAA video games. Like my sound quality in here is good enough that it was able to carry me through. The type of microphone I have, it's a AKG C214, and then I have a Focusrite Scarlett Solo as my interface. So that's the setup I've used for almost the entire time that I've been doing this. Looking to upgrade soon, but again, my current setup has carried me pretty far as is, so not allowing that to be the reason that I'm not selected for something. Some studios have standards as far as, okay, this is the type of microphones that we want you guys to have. I want to have that in my arsenal so that way that's not something that's going to exclude me from those roles. So that's on the to-do list.
Let's talk about some of the projects that you've been in the past.
One of my, I would say, more notable things that I've done, I was in a Chinese mobile gacha game called Dislight. I was a character called Lu Shang, who is a S-tier character in that game that got added in a patch a couple years ago. So that one was really special for me because it was kind of my introduction to seeing people make fan art for a character that I played. So that was really cool to comb through social media. And then the character itself had like an entire trailer dedicated to him. It had my name in it. So reading the YouTube comments and people commenting, not just on the character, but my performance as that character was really special. I look back on that character really fondly. I also was in a project called Mekarashi, which is the same kind of thing as a Chinese gacha mobile game that was supposed to be the next Front Mission, and I was a Front Mission fan. So knowing that it had those roots, and be able to participate in that project meant a lot. But I got to play a character named Adrian, who is kind of the slacker. It goes back to the sounds just like me, like I'm talking to you right now, except it's just a more bored version of the way I'm talking to you right now, right? Again, very special character for me because it feels like me. So when I hear the character talk, I'm like, that's just me. So being able to participate in that project was really special as well. I recently had a Devil May Cry style hack and slash game, except in 2D, called Soul Quest, just released last month. And I got to play one of the bosses, Belinus, in that game. That one was a little bit outside my typecast, which was why that one was really special. Loud, boisterous, kind of hot-headed, yelly type character, and I don't normally do those. So to be able to do something that's kind of outside the box for me personally meant a lot. And of course, it's just a fun game too. So it's the exact type of game that I would play myself, even if I had nothing to do with it. And I could go on and on about all the different cool things that I got to do, because every project that I've been cast for is special to me, and I am thankful for every director, casting director, project creator that's given me the opportunity and has allowed me to lend my voice to their project. And there's so many more that are coming down the pipeline too that I'm excited to see release. So I have this entire backlog of stuff that I've already done and it has come out, but then there's so much cool stuff on the horizon that I get to look forward to too, that I've had the opportunity to be a part of. And so that's exciting as well.
What do you do in that waiting game? Because it can be a year, 2 years, it can be a long time
Yes.
before something that you recorded for gets released. What do you do in the interim?
Honestly, there's stuff that I've recorded 2-3 years ago that still hasn't come out. And it's still going to come out. It just hasn't gotten there yet. And I feel like when it finally does, because I've grown as an actor since I've done that work, I'm going to listen to it and be like, man, if I could do that now, I could do that better. I feel like those feelings are going to come when those projects eventually do release. But in the meantime, it's really just focusing on what new stuff could I be working on, rather than lingering on, okay, when's this going to come out? And it's the same thing with auditions, right? When are they going to cast this project? The easiest thing to do is just forget all of that. Forget what you've been cast for, forget what you haven't been cast for, and just focus on new things. Continue to audition for new projects, continue to look for new projects, spend the time improving your craft, enhancing your marketing. That means making your website look better, polishing up your resume, maybe getting some artwork done, a new banner, that type of stuff. It's really about spending the time, continuing to do the thing that you love to do rather than just waiting for things to happen. Because otherwise what happens is, if you can't focus on working while there's this thing on the horizon that you're waiting for, that thing comes, and now what? You've got nothing else to look forward to because you've been waiting in limbo. I direct my energy towards auditioning for new things, working on new projects, and don't really think about the things that are still coming until it's right about to come out. And then, that's the time to get excited for it, maybe prep a roll announcement for it and celebrate when it finally does release.
How do you go about branding yourself? What do you recommend people really hone in on and make sure that they have out there in the world?
It's really good to have examples of your work, even if you're not at a point where you feel like you're ready for a demo reel. Even a YouTube video of, here's a project that I voiced in and here's a video for it. Just having that at the ready, or even having some samples of different characters you play. So if somebody says, can you play a mad scientist or something? Yes, I can. Here's my audio clip of me doing that exact thing. So really just being prepared for those scenarios where you might have to demonstrate your acting to somebody outside of the actual audition itself, because sometimes you get cast for things without an audition. Sometimes there's you might see on social media there's a demo reel drop. Having something ready to present when those go up, because in that case you can't really audition. There's no auditioning lines or anything. It's just what can you do. So make sure you have something ready to post that shows exactly what you can do. And then as far as social media itself, make sure that it's very clear how to get a hold of you, whether it's a website, even better, an email address. I have a link tree that has all my social medias on it, just so it's all in one place. That way, if somebody wants to find me on a particular platform, I've got it all laid out in one spot. Somebody doesn't have to go hunting for it. Then I also have that stuff linked on my website. So if somebody's on my website, there's icons for, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, everything else. So making it easy for people to get a hold of you. And then also presenting yourself as a professional, not engaging in drama online, demonstrating your work. If you do want to have an opinion on something, doing so in a professional manner, not dogpiling or arguing with strangers on the internet, that type of thing. Just showing project creators that they can trust you to not create controversy for them if they were to give you a role. Voice acting, if you want to make it a career and you want to advance, it's more than just the art itself. It's everything around it too. I mean, at the end of the day, you're running a small business. The business is you, and you're selling your voice. So in order to run a business, you have to conduct yourself professionally, and you have to be able to sell yourself. And the way you sell yourself is being a professional online, not hating on people, showing your best self to others publicly, and not engaging in controversy that could potentially drag down the reputation of people that would take the chance on you. So it's all of that.
Last question. What is next for you?
So there's a few things that I kind of have my sights set on. One of the main things that I work on is video games. And so as a part of that, I would like to be in video games of all different genres. I want to dip my toes in every single one. I want to do fighting games. I want to do platformers. I want to do RPGs. I want to do everything. It's almost like the infinity stones of video game genres, right? My short term is kind of collecting all of those and just show that I can do every genre. I'm not just a one-trick pony. I'm not just the fighting game guy. I'm not just the RPG guy, right? Long term, I would like to secure an agent for myself. Right now, I am currently unrepresented, and all the work that I have gained thus far has been sought out on my own. I found my own auditions. I've done my own cold outreach, all of that stuff. It's entirely self-made, and there have been a few times where, I'd have a friend maybe refer me, or somebody that I've worked with in the past maybe referred me or brought me in for another one of their projects. So I was able to do all of that, without an agent. So long term, I'd like to secure an agent so it kind of supplements the stuff that I'm already doing and gives me access to maybe higher level stuff that I probably wouldn't have access to on my own. So that would be one big one. And then number two is to be able to do anime. That one's a little bit more tricky because it's very regional. As I'm finding, there are some studios that bring in remote actors. And I'm so thankful that they do, and I'm happy for the people that got to take advantage of that. But as someone based in Minnesota, there are no anime studios around here. Texas and LA are very far away from me, so that makes anime very tricky for me. But other people have done it remotely. I'm confident that I can too if I continue to grind away at it. So that's another thing that I have my sights set on, and I think with time I'll get there.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been a great conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.